Hello everyone and welcome to another video. Today I want to kind of piggyback off of our last two videos where we talked about, one we were talking about websites where you can make money online, so essentially working at home whether you start a business or working. And then on Monday we talked about, instead of video, how to kind of set up your workspace and set up your working from home environment to be the most productive. Now, I will put links to both of those videos up in the upper corner so you can check those out if you haven't seen those already. But today what I want to talk about is, in some cases, some of us have actually lost our jobs, or you're working from home on like a furlough or whatever type of situation you may be in, and you may be looking for a new job, or you may just be tired of your old job, and right now you're like, you know what, this is the perfect time for me to develop the skills that I need, excuse me, to be able to actually work from home and spend more time with my family, not have to deal with a long commute, work in my pajamas, which I don't advocate for, but hey, you do you. So we'll leave it at that. So let's talk about some of the things that you kind of want to prepare yourself with, and some of the skills you want to have, some of the apps and programs and online kind of tech you want to make sure that you have good knowledge of before you enter into that workspace, because it is a completely different workspace having to work from home, because in most cases you still have to coordinate with your coworkers or your boss, your manager, and so they're going to have some things that they're going to want you to use to be able to do that as effective as possible. So first things that we're going to cover is, you're going to need to get a little bit tech savvy. So if you haven't really had to deal with that in the past, you're going to have to deal with that now. So you're going to want to really start looking at different apps. And the first group that we're going to talk about is kind of the file sharing, or the sharing work files with your coworkers. And you're going to want to get to know things like Google Drive, Dropbox, and Box.com. Those are kind of the big three that are really being used now. Some of the other apps and things that we're going to talk about will have components to it that allow you to share files and stuff like that, but those are going to be the ones where you're going to take and you're going to say, okay, I have all of these files or all this stuff, and I'm going to just drop that in there. Now, you're going to have some other things that you're going to maybe have as far as file sharing is concerned, where you're going to have documents that you and somebody else is going to work on. So the Google Suite is going to be something you're going to want to know and be able to use, Google Docs and Google Sheets for spreadsheets, stuff like that. So you're not just creating a spreadsheet in your Excel and then, sending it over to somebody and then they're working on it and then they're sending it back to you and you're working on it. These are great opportunities for you to be able to get in there, work on a document, whether it be a Word document or a spreadsheet, work on that, do your work on it. Somebody else comes in, sees the same document. You don't have to have all this stuff going back and forth. So it's kind of nice to have those available and in use between your coworkers. The next group we're going to talk about is your video conferencing apps. So you want to get to know stuff like Zoom and WebEx, Skype, and like BlueJeans. There's several others. Just kind of do Google searches or YouTube searches. You can find the ones that are most being used. And sometimes, reach out. If you look at a company, say, hey, I'd love to work for that company. Reach out to them and say, hey, what do you guys use for your work at home employees? And sometimes they'll give you ones that are on the list that I mentioned. You can kind of study up on it and get to know those pretty well. But get to know those. They're not hard to use. Right now, it's crazy. Like my wife, she has a fitness studio, and so she's using Zoom to live stream all of her classes. Her normal class schedule that would normally be happening in the fitness studio is now being live streamed through Zoom to all of her members and all of her clients and stuff like that. So there's a lot of applications that you can use these products and these apps in, and a lot of companies are starting to use them, especially right now with what's going on. And the next bunch we're going to talk about is obviously if you're working from home, you're going to be dealing with emails, right? So obviously be very savvy with whether it be Gmail or whatever product the companies want you to use. Now, Gmail is pretty common, and look, if you've been working in the workplace for any period of time, you're going to be used to Gmail, but some sort of email client. But things like Slack and Microsoft Teams. Sometimes those can be required by employers. So utilize those to your advantage as well, and look those up, see how they work, read up on or watch tutorials on YouTube. All this stuff, that's what's great, is there's so much information out there. Getting knowledgeable about these apps and how to use them is so easy these days. So I highly recommend you do that. The next ones you're going to want to do is you want to look at, like, there's like team project based apps. You've probably, if you've watched any YouTube videos or anything like that, you've probably seen commercials for ones like Monday.com. You've maybe even heard of things like Basecamp. There's other ones that are a little less well known, like Asana and Trello, stuff of that nature. You want to get to know those. So get to know at least one of them, and then at least if you go in to see an employer or you talk to an employer online, you can say, yeah, I don't know that one, but I do know Basecamp really well, or I do know this one really well. So I can take and I can pick up on whatever you're using fairly easily, or give me a day of research and I can pick up on whatever your company decides to use pretty simply, and be able to catch myself up to where you guys are at. Now, of course, you're going to want to communicate, so you're going to want to know, the common communication apps. Once again, we go back to Zoom, we go back to Skype, Slack, Chatter. Those are kind of the big ones. There's a few others, but once again, if you get to know those basic ones and how they function and how to utilize, video conferencing with Zoom, if you have to download it, send a Zoom conference call to, your spouse or to your kids or whatever, just to kind of get used to it. I mean, it's super easy, it's free, so you can utilize it that way. Obviously, if you're running these big organizations, then they pay for it, but if you're just doing one-on-one, you can kind of utilize that. Download Skype, have your significant other or friend install it as well. Kind of just pound away at it if you're not already using it and you want to get to know how it works. If you use them, that's the best thing. That's the best way to learn. Just use this stuff and you'll get to know it and you'll get used to it, and then you'll be primed to use it when you need to inside of a job environment. Now, one of the other things I highly recommend is you can also research a lot of like remote work on sites like LinkedIn. They have courses and kind of like webinars and stuff like that there. You can also look on sites like Learning and Coursera, Udemy, and even here on YouTube, there's tons of stuff on, remote work learning and getting used to what I should know and how I should know it, and kind of like training. The other nice thing is excuse me, like I kind of already mentioned, is a lot of the programs that I've mentioned and the apps that I've mentioned, they have training through their specific websites. They have, basic tutorials, or they have their own YouTube channels that you can go to, and then you can look at and say, okay, they've got, how to do this or how to do that. Just watch those little videos, 10, 15 minutes here. You'll pick that stuff up really, really quick, and then find yourself in a really good position when you are going and looking for that job. Now let's head over to the computer. I'm going to show you guys something really quick there, and you guys can see where I really, really recommend that you go when you're starting that job search. Now, once you've studied up, garnered some skills that we've talked about, got yourself really comfortable with all those different programs and apps that we've been discussing, the first place that I would start to look for your next job that will be working remote or working from home would be Amazon Jobs. Amazon.jobs has an entire huge section dedicated to remote career opportunities. Now, they have a ton of other opportunities as well, but if you go in here, you can see here they've got virtual locations, but then they also have full-time, part-time work, seasonal. You can see by job category. You can break it down by different categories depending upon what you feel comfortable with. But if you want to go down here, go to category, look at that. Right now, as of today, Amazon has 1,191 jobs under the category work from home. Now, you can do a wide range of different things, and some of them are, as you can see, are international, outside of the US. So if you're somewhere else, Spanish, Portuguese, all that different stuff, depending upon what your skill set is, this would be where I would go to start. Now, there's going to be other places where you can start to look, and if you're a little bit higher up and you want to do that, you can go and get yourself a recruiter, but this would be one place that I would start. And maybe even as you're getting yourself into all these different apps and looking at the different opportunities that you want to take and where you want to garner more skills, look at this first and say, you know what, I want to garner more skills in this. I've got a couple of months, I've got a severance package, blah, blah, blah. I can really knock this out and then really make myself more attractive to the hiring pool. All right, so there you guys go. There is a good outline and a good group of applications that you can use to your advantage to be able to make yourself a prime candidate when looking for remote work or work at home job. Highly recommend at least looking into some of these if this is what you're looking for. Like I said, right now is a really, really good time. If you're at home, if you've got extra time, if you're off work, say you were a bartender or a server in a restaurant. I know sometimes you can make really good money with tips, but there's a lot of good jobs out there that you could work at home and have a lot of that flexibility and freedom that you want with that job, because maybe you have that job because you're going to school at the same time. So look into this, look into utilizing some of this, and look, if you're having that job, you probably already know a lot of these apps and don't even realize that there's great opportunities for you with companies like we looked at on Amazon's job board, or with many, many other companies to work from home. If you like this video and you enjoyed the contents, please hit the thumbs up button, hit that like button. I really do appreciate that. It really does help out with that Google and YouTube algorithm. And if you like this content, you want to see more and be notified every single time we launch a new video, hit subscribe and hit that little ding 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 bell icon. Hope this was informative. If it was, and you think somebody else might like it, feel free to share it with your friends. That also helps us out. But either way, I will see you in the next video. Till next time, have a great day.